I am continuing my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am reading in a chronological order of events, not according to publication or volume, so I will be skipping around a bit as I move along. So we continue in Ezekiel. This will be chapter 4. Ezekiel creates a type and shadow of the siege and famine that shall befall Jerusalem. And before we read this, remember this is still the 5th year of the captivity of Jeconiah. So this is the 5th year of Zedekiah. The city of Jerusalem is destroyed in the 11th year of Zedekiah. So 6 years before Jerusalem is destroyed. Thou also, son of man, take thee a tile and lay it before thee, and portray upon it the city, even Jerusalem, and lay siege against it, and build a fort against it, and cast a mount against it. Set the camp also against it, and set battering rams against it round about. Moreover, take thou unto thee an iron pan, and set it for a wall of iron between thee and the city, and set thy face against it, and it shall be besieged, and thou shalt lay siege against it. This shall be a sign to the house of Israel. Lie thou also upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it. According to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days, 390 days. So shalt thou bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. Therefore thou shalt set thy face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and thine arm shall be uncovered, and thou shalt prophesy against it. And behold, I will lay bands upon thee, and thou shalt not turn thee from one side to another, till thou hast ended the days of thy siege. So first of all, this starts off with, I just like the image of Ezekiel playing a war game. He builds a little model of the city of Jerusalem. He puts together some siege weapons and has his model army come in, and he's laying siege to it and everything. It just sounds fun. He's playing a little model war game. Now in the footnotes it says that it is to, instead of portray upon it, is to engrave or cut a representation of it into the clay tablet. And then into where it says lay siege against it, in the footnote says draw upon it the plan of the attack against the city. But doesn't it just sound more fun with him playing a war game? Now this whole thing about laying on his side, this is somewhat confusing. Upon the left side, 390 days, and on the right side, 40 days. And then it says, I have appointed thee each day for a year. But it doesn't exactly tell us what this means. 390 days and then 40 days for Judah, or 40 years for Judah and 390 years for Israel. But is that saying this represents the time that came before it? This would put it in pretty close to the year 1000, which I believe is still back in the reign of David, maybe the reign of Solomon. But if we go forward, then that puts us around or just after the year 200, which would be the time of the Maccabean revolt and the Maccabean, when Israel is once again established as a independent nation, small but still independent for about 150 years. So exactly what it means is, I know other churches have come up with some very elaborate explanations to what it means, but it's just very interesting. And I have to say, I'm not completely sure what is meant by it. But let us read on. Verse 9. Take thou also unto thee wheat, and barley, and beans, and lentils, and millet, and fitches, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 390 days thou shalt eat thereof. And thy meat, which thou shalt eat, shall be by weight 20 shekels a day. From time to time shalt thou eat it. Thou shalt drink also water by measure, the 1/6 part of an hin. From time to time shalt thou drink. And thou shalt eat it as barley cakes, and thou shalt bake it with dung that cometh out of man in their sight. And the Lord said, Even thus shall the children of Israel eat their defiled bread among the Gentiles, whither I will drive them. Then said I, Ah, Lord God, behold, my soul hath not been polluted. For from my youth up even till now have I not eaten of that which dieth of itself, or is torn in pieces. neither came their abominable flesh into my mouth. Then he said unto me, Lo, I have given thee cow's dung for man's dung, and thou shalt prepare thy bread therewith. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of the bread in Jerusalem, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment, that they may want bread and water, and be astonied one with another, and consume away for their iniquity. So the fitches is a type of wheat, spelt. And when it says meat, it's talking about food. It's not talking about actual meat, what we would call meat. Meat is just food, but this is interesting. He's telling you, take all these different types of grain and bake cakes of the mixture, because in the law of Moses, it was forbidden to bake cakes using different types of grain. You could have your barley cakes and your wheat cakes and your whatever cakes, but you couldn't mix the grain together when baking. And that's why Ezekiel is actually objecting here, saying, wait a minute, I've never done anything like this. I've never eaten anything that is against the law of Moses. And then when he says, bake it with dung, I'm pretty sure that's talking about how you cook it. The dung is the fire source, the fuel. And it was not uncommon to use the dried cow dung for fuel source. Burns very nicely. And he was saying, instead of using that, use humans' waste to burn your fire and cook it, because that would also be considered defiling it. And it's all done to symbolize the kind of life that the Jews will be living while in captivity. They're going to have to eat defiled food in order to survive. They're not going to be able to be picky anymore. Their time of plenty and prosperity where they could follow these laws is over. Now, I do think that Ezekiel's comment here, it reminds me of Peter, when Peter, you saw the sheet come down with all the animals and told to kill and eat, and he said, oh, but I've never eaten anything that was unclean. And Ezekiel's saying the same thing. He's like, you've given us a law, and I've followed it very well, and now you're telling me to break that law. And notice that God does this, okay, we'll give you the cow dung instead of the human dung. That's not quite as bad. But you still got to eat the mixed cakes, because we need to send a message to the rest of the Israelites, to the rest of the Jews, that this is what's going to be happening. We leave that here. I'll see you in chapter 5.